Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the depths of time to unravel the mysteries of our shared human experience. Today, we embark on a journey to explore one of the most pivotal events of the 20th century, the fall of the Berlin Wall. This monumental occasion marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War, an era that had divided the world for decades. As we stand at the threshold of this fascinating tale, let us first gaze upon the landscape of post-war Europe, where the seeds of division were sown. In the aftermath of World War II, Germany lay in ruins, its cities reduced to rubble, and its people struggling to survive. The Allied powers, led by the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union, converged to shape the future of this war-torn nation. The Potsdam Agreement, signed on August 2, 1945, divided Germany into 4 occupation zones, each controlled by one of the Allied powers. Berlin, the capital city, was also divided into 4 sectors, with the Soviet Union controlling the eastern sector. As the years passed, the divisions between East and West deepened. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Joseph Stalin, began to consolidate its power in Eastern Europe, establishing communist governments in Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia. In Germany, the Soviet Union merged its occupation zone with the French and British zones to form the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany, with its capital in East Berlin. The Western powers, meanwhile, formed the Federal Republic of Germany, or West Germany, with its capital in Bonn. The division between East and West Berlin became increasingly rigid, with the construction of a physical barrier to separate the two cities. On August 13, 1961, the government of the GDR, with the approval of the Soviet Union, began constructing the Berlin Wall, a fortified barrier that would eventually stretch for over 155 kilometers. The wall was designed to prevent East Germans from fleeing to the West, and it became a powerful symbol of the division between communism and capitalism. As we explore this earliest history of the fall of the Berlin Wall, we notice the key figures who played a role in shaping the events that led to its construction. Men like Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, and Walter Ulbricht, the leader of the GDR, worked tirelessly to maintain the communist grip on Eastern Europe. We also see the emergence of leaders like Willy Brandt, the mayor of West Berlin, and later Chancellor of Germany, who worked to maintain the connection between East and West, and to keep alive the flame of hope for a reunited Germany. The city of Berlin, once a vibrant cultural center, was now a city of contrasts. The western sector, with its bustling streets and vibrant nightlife, stood in stark contrast to the eastern sector with its drab, Soviet-style architecture and oppressive atmosphere. The Berlin Wall, with its watchtowers, raked gravel, and eerie silence, became a focal point for the tensions of the Cold War. As we delve deeper into this period, we find ourselves in the midst of a complex web of alliances and rivalries. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, formed in 1949, stood as a bulwark against Soviet expansion, while the Warsaw Pact, formed in 1955, united the communist states of Eastern Europe under Soviet leadership. The Berlin Wall, with its physical presence, became a tangible manifestation of this ideological divide. As we conclude this segment on the origins of the fall of the Berlin Wall, we find ourselves poised on the threshold of a new era, one in which the forces of change would eventually converge to bring about the collapse of this iconic barrier. We have seen how the division between East and West Berlin was forged in the aftermath of World War II, and how it became a powerful symbol of the Cold War. Join me, dear listeners, as we step into the midst of this remarkable tale and uncover the fascinating story of how the Berlin Wall came to fall. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, as we continue our journey through the fascinating tale of the fall of the Berlin Wall. As we delve into the heart of the story, we notice that the 1980s were a time of great transformation in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Mikhail Gorbachev, was undergoing significant reforms, including glasnost and perestroika, which aimed to increase transparency and economic reform. These changes had a ripple effect throughout the region, inspiring movements for democratic change in countries like Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia. In East Germany, the communist government, led by Erich Honecker, was struggling to maintain its grip on power. The economy was in shambles, and the population was growing increasingly disillusioned with the regime. As the Soviet Union's control over Eastern Europe began to wane, the people of East Germany saw an opportunity to push for change. One of the key events that contributed to the fall of the Berlin Wall was the mass exodus of East Germans to Hungary in the summer of 1989. Thousands of people fled to the Hungarian border, seeking refuge and a chance to escape to the West. The Hungarian government, which had been undergoing its own democratic reforms, eventually opened its borders, allowing the refugees to pass through to Austria and eventually to West Germany. This mass migration put immense pressure on the East German government, which was struggling to maintain control. As the number of refugees grew, the government found it increasingly difficult to stem the tide. On September 11, 1989, Hungary officially opened its border with Austria, allowing thousands more East Germans to flee to the west. The East German government, realizing that it could no longer maintain the status quo, began to make concessions. On September 30, 1989, the government announced that it would allow East Germans to travel to the west, effective immediately. This move was seen as a major victory for the opposition, and it marked the beginning of the end of the Berlin Wall. As we explore this pivotal moment in modern history, we notice the courageous individuals who played a part in shaping the events that led to the wall's demise. Men like Günter Schabowski, an East German official who announced the new travel regulations, and Angela Merkel, a young physicist who would later become the Chancellor of Germany, were among those who pushed for change. On November 9, 1989, the Berlin Wall was officially opened, and thousands of people poured through the gates, reunifying families and friends who had been separated for decades. The scene was one of jubilation, with people hugging and crying as they celebrated their newfound freedom. As we conclude this segment on the events that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall, we find ourselves in the midst of a new era, one in which the forces of democracy and freedom had triumphed over oppression and division. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the beginning of a new chapter in modern history, one that would be shaped by the courage and determination of individuals who pushed for change. Join me, dear listeners, as we continue our journey through this fascinating tale and uncover the complexities and nuances of one of the most pivotal moments in modern history. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, as we conclude our journey through the fascinating tale of the fall of the Berlin Wall. As the Berlin Wall came down, Germany began a process of rapid transformation. On December 28, 1989, East German leader Hans Modrow announced plans for free elections, which were held on March 18, 1990. The Christian Democratic Union, led by Lothar de Maizière, emerged victorious, and soon after, the East German government began to dissolve. On October 3, 1990, East and West Germany were officially reunified, marking the end of decades of division. The reunification process was not without its challenges. The East German economy was in shambles, and the country struggled to adapt to the free market principles of the West. However, with the support of the international community and the leadership of Chancellor Helmut Kohl, Germany began to rebuild and reintegrate into the global economy. The fall of the Berlin Wall also had a significant impact on global politics. It marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War, as the Soviet Union's grip on Eastern Europe weakened. On July 6, 1990, the Warsaw Pact was dissolved, and the Soviet Union began to withdraw its troops from Eastern Europe. The United States, under the leadership of President George H.W. Bush, played a key role in shaping the post-Cold War world order. One of the most significant consequences of the fall of the Berlin Wall was the emergence of a new era of international relations. The end of the Cold War marked a shift towards greater cooperation and diplomacy between nations. The European Union, established in 1993, became a symbol of this new era, as countries came together to promote economic integration and cooperation. As we reflect on the fall of the Berlin Wall, we are reminded of the power of courage and determination. Individuals like Günter Schabowski, Angela Merkel, and countless others who pushed for change played a significant role in shaping the course of history. Their actions inspired a generation of leaders to work towards a more united and peaceful world. In the words of Angela Merkel, the fall of the Berlin Wall showed us that even the most seemingly insurmountable barriers can be overcome with courage, determination, and a commitment to freedom. As we conclude our journey through this fascinating tale, we are left with a sense of hope and optimism for the future. The fall of the Berlin Wall serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility for change and transformation. Join me next time on History with Herodotus as we explore more fascinating stories from the past. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.